In this video, we will be continuing on the beginner's guide to SDL2 in the Go language. So if you're just starting with this video, you will want to go to the GitHub repository. That'll be github.com, Programming Rainbow, Beginner's Guide to SDL2 in Go. You'll want to clone that repository. And since this is the 7th video, you'll want to work with the code that we left off in the 6th video. So in the 6th video over here, if you go in here, you can get main.go and you can put it in the top level directory. And that's what we will be starting with in this video. So let me just show you where we left off from the last video. So we have our background drawn. We can change the color. We have SDL, the TrueType font, bouncing around the screen that says SDL. We have our gopher. We can control it with our arrow keys and with the ASWD keys. And we have a title up there being drawn, and we also have a window icon that is loaded, but we just don't see it in my window manager. Okay, so in this one we are going to be adding sound effects, and we're going to be adding music and the ability to pause the music. Okay, so let's go there. So we're going to be working with the mixer package from the SDL2 Go module. And this is going to be equivalent to the SDL2_mixer module in the C language, in the C SDL2 library. So if we go into mix, we have this init that we can add flags to. I don't think this is the correct. So this would be the C equivalent right here. And the flags that we have at our disposal are FLAC, MOD, MP3, OGG. So all the audio files that I'm going to be using in this project are OGG files. So this music is an OGG file, and these two sound effects are both OGG files. So we just need to use the init OGG, but you can add your own if you're using other ones. I just want to show you what those flags look like. So we will be passing that flag in to init and capturing the error and checking it, just like we've done with all the others. And then we use the quit function to shut it down. So let's do that. We do need to add the package. So I'm just going to yank this one here. This is called mix. That's for mixer. Okay, that's fine. So down here in SDL, Initialize SDL, we are going to create a new flag here. This one will be mix flags. And it's mix.init, and it's going to be the OGG one. Now again, you can use your own. You can add other ones you want just by using a single pipe and then add the other one. And that is a bitwise OR operation. And that's how you add different flags together. Okay, so since I have this, I'm going to just copy this one up here. It's going to be the exact same almost. So this one is mix init, and it's mix flags. And the error is SDL, error initializing SDL mixer. Okay, so that will bring them the mixer package online, and we shut it down with mix quit. Okay, so that is those two out of the way. So to get audio up and running, we don't just need to initialize the mix, we actually need to open an audio device as well. And this one again, I believe I pulled up. Okay, so what this is going to do, this is going to take some arguments, which is frequency, format, channels, and chunk size. Okay, and it's not documented on this page here. There are macros already in place for safe defaults. So we could put in here 44,100 hertz or 48,000 hertz, one of those two, for the frequency, but we can just use the macro that is SDL init Yep, it is mixed default frequency. So it's not documented on this page or the Go page, but they do exist and people do use them. And you can set your own, but I'm going to use those default built-ins because I'm going to consider those to be the safe default. The format one deals with how your hardware is set up and everything else. And again, I'm going to use the default. So I'm not going to mess with that, but you can read about it down here. There's different setups that you can do. I'm going to use the safe default. The channels, this one's talking about mono, stereo, other things. I'm going to use the safe default, which is going to be stereo. And then we have chunk size. And this is down, where is it? Yeah, right down here. The size of number sample of number of sample frames. And so if you have this too small, that you're kind of buffer size too small, you're going to get the audio dropping out. It won't be able to process your audio in time, and you get dropouts, and it causes this really bad crackling sound. But if you make the number too large, it's going to be too many cycles before it actually, your audio is going to be delayed. So I can hear it a little bit at 2048, but at 1024, it sounds fine to me. So I'm going to consider that to be my safe default. And you can read more about these, but this is just, we're setting up an audio device. So basically, I'm using the safe defaults. And this one I'm using 1024. If you get crackling, you can use a larger number. Try 2048. If you think it's delayed too much for you, it should be okay. It's just a simple game. But you could put this down to 512 or something like that. So I'm just showing you what this look like, and where's the Go version of it. Okay, so we have open audio. So here's what we're doing here. We have our frequency, we have our format, we have our channels, and our chunk size. And we're returning an error, okay? So we're still going to be in Initialize SDL. And this one we're still wrapping it, for the error. And this one is mix, open audio. And now this is, I'm going to use the SDL default. Am I not doing this right? I expected it to autocomplete, but it's not. Maybe it's because this is here already. I don't know. So default. And this one should be frequency. Man, it's really not, doesn't want autocomplete. That's fine. So this same thing we're going to do for the format. And for the channels. Oops. I'm going to do a break past the format here. And the chunk size, I'm going to use, this may have a, let me try this, SDL may or may not have this. Whoa. What just happened? I think I accidentally touched the mouse pad. Yeah, it does have a default chunk size. Hopefully I've written all those correctly without misspelling. Yeah, okay. So now we need to check our check our failure. We have the error is not equal to nil. What we want to do is return. And this will be opening audio. Okay. It says some undefined. Oh, I know what's going on here, why I wasn't getting autocomplete, because I'm using SDL and not mix. That's why. I was really expecting to see the options pop up. So yeah, those are all supposed to be mixed. So this opens. Oh, this one is mixed as well. So this opens an audio. We also need to close an audio. So that's, I'm going to put that down here. Everything that's happening in here, initialize SDL, is being reversed in close SDL. So this one is mix close audio. So that's mix close audio. So now we should be bringing the mix package online, and then we're opening an audio device. Now we're closing the audio device and taking the mixer offline. Okay, so that's in reverse order. I'm just going to compile this to make sure that there is no errors yet, and I have the package brought in here. Okay, that looks fine. So we have all this online, and what we really want to do is we want to load audio and we want to play the audio. And there's two different types of audio. There's chunks and there's music. So chunks are for sound effects that you can play, just short sound effects that you can play quickly, and they can be played on top of each other, multiple different ones, up to 8, I believe. And then there is music, which is just going to be one music streaming file that just plays, and you can loop it. You can loop any of them, but the music we're going to loop. In here we have our open, we have our close audio, that's already taken care of. Now the way that we load the chunk files is with load wave. Even if we're not loading wave files, we're actually loading OGG files. The function to do this is still called load wave. So we have load wave, it takes a string to where the file is that we're going to load, and it returns a heap allocated SDL chunk and the error. Okay, so we're going to do that, and we have two that we're going to load. So I'm going to create two variables that hold SDL chunks, and we also need to free these. So we use chunk free. So we have load wave loads a chunk, and then free is the method on the chunk to free it. Okay. So we're going to go into load. Oh, well, we need to add these to our game struct here. And I have two sound files over here, one called go and one called SDL. So I'll say go sound, and this is a heap allocated, so it's a pointer. SDL, this is a chunk. Should be correct, yeah. And it is an SDL chunk. It's not a mixed chunk. But let me double check that. It is a yeah, it is, sorry, it is a mixed chunk. Okay. So we're going to have two of them. We're going to have the SDL as well. This one would be mix chunk. And then the way that we clean these up is freeing them. So down here, the game close, we're going to say G SDL, or is it go sound free, and then we'll make it nil. And we're going to do this for both of them. So we have the go sound and we have the SDL. Okay, so that's going to be the freeing. That's basically, we've declared both of them in our, we've declared them here and we've freed them. And we can do that. It's okay if it's a nil. It starts out as a nil pointer. We can free a nil pointer because the method will check if it's nil or not before it tries to free it. So that's fine. You can do that with all the SDL stuff. So in this load media, now we need to actually load the chunks. So we'll wrap this in an if, and we're returning the G, say go sound, and the error. And this one is mix, and it's load wave. And we just need the string to the relative path. So it's in sounds, and this one is go og with the capital G. Okay, and then we're checking the error. And I'm just going to grab one of these here. And we'll say loading chunk, error loading chunk. Okay, so I have this expected here. What's happening here? Load wave. Sorry, not nil. Okay. Now this is going to be the exact same for the other audio, so I'm just going to yank this one down here, and this one will be SDL sound and capital SDL here. That's going to be the same. So now we're loading our sounds. We've declared them, we've loaded them, we are freeing them in the close. We're nilling the pointers. So let's go see how we would play these sounds. So we're loading the load wave for the chunk, and then we're running the free method on the chunk. Okay, so now to play it, we have a couple things going on here. So we can choose what channel we want to play it on, or we can use -1 for it to pick the first available channel. Now, when I say channel, I don't mean mono or stereo left and right. I mean how many actual sound effects can be played at the exact same time. So that's what I mean for channels here. So I believe it's 8. It's usually defaults to 8. That means it'll play 8, and then if you try to play ninth one, that ninth one won't play, and it'll actually return an error. But we are not going to be checking the errors on here. We don't care if the ninth one doesn't play. That's fine. When one of those sound effects finishes playing, then there'll be another spot open to play another one. So that you can play simultaneously 8 sound effects, I believe, in Go. That should be the default for SDL. When you get past 8, it just won't play. It'll return an error, but we're not going to check the error. But then when one of the sound effects does finish playing, that you'll again have that ability to play sound again. So it's not a big deal. So what's going to happen is we're just going to put -1 in for the channel. So it's going to pick the first available channel. And for loops, we're going to put 0 because we don't want any of these sound effects to repeat. We just want them to play one time. Okay, and that's all we're doing. We are returning back from this the channel that it's played on. If you want to keep track of that, and in our instance, we don't care about it, and we also don't care about the error. So both of these we don't care about. We're telling it to play on the first available, but we don't care which one it is, and to not loop. We just want to play it once. And this is a method of a chunk. So what we can do is we can play. We've been changing the color of the screen when we press the space bar, and it picks a random color for our render. While we're doing that, we can actually play the sound effect, the go sound. Okay, so let's look at that. Right here, this is the game method that sets the random color to the renderer. So right here, we could just say G go sound, and remember we have the -1 for what channel it's going to be on. That's going to automatically pick the first available. And then how many loops, and that's going to be 0. Okay, and what did I did here? Oh, I didn't put play. Sorry, I missed the play method. And I think it's capital. Okay. So this should, every time we press spacebar, it should play the go sound. So let's try that.
Go, 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 go.
Okay, that's working. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the spacebar 4 times quickly so you can hear the sound played on top of itself.
Go, go, go.
Okay. So now that we can see how to play the go sound, why don't we also let the SDL say SDL every time it bounces off one of the walls? So we can go down to the update text down here, the SDL text that's moving around the screen. We could say G SDL sound dot play, and then the -1 and 0. I'm just gonna yank this right here. And I'm putting it each time that something happens triggered for a direction change, I'm playing the sound. So any of the walls it bounces off, it's going to play the sound. Okay, now we should get SDL every time it bounces off a wall.
SDL, 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 SDL,
Okay,
SDL.
that looks like it's working. So that's how you load chunks, sound effects chunks, and that's how you play them. So let's load music now instead. It's slightly different. Music and chunks are a little bit different. Oh, I want to do one thing first. Did I pass it? So basically, let's go over here and look at this. So we are, every time we do something, we're doing the reverse of it, right? So we are initializing the mixture and we're doing the reverse to shut it down. We're opening an audio device and we're doing the reverse to close the audio device. We are loading an audio file, a chunk file down here, and we're doing the reverse to free it down here, okay? But before I free it, I actually want to make sure the sound is not playing. Now, this isn't a huge deal, but it's just best practices. So what I can do is I can tell all the sound effects halt. You can pick a specific channel with this. You can call halt channel and pick whatever channel you want, or you can use -1 and it's going to halt all of the channels. So I want to do that. I'm going to put it before I start freeing. I'm going to put it here. Mix halt channel, and I'm going to just put a -1 in. Okay? So that's going to halt the channel and then free. I'm just going to test it out real quick.
Go, go, go.
SDL, SDL, SDL.
Okay? Again, that's just best practice. Before I start freeing up the music, I'm going to just tell all the music to halt. Okay, so let's now transition over to music. So to load music, we had load wave to load a chunk file. To load music, we have load muse, all capital MUS. So load muse takes a string, and we're going to use the relative path, and it's going to return a heap allocated SDL pointer to an SDL music, and it's going to return an error. So we have seen this a lot. This looks very similar to the other one. It's just this is a music instead of a chunk. Okay? So let's go up here and let's make that. I'm just going to call it music. This is going to be SDL music. That's the type. Sorry, not SDL mix. And the way that we load it is going to be right here, just like this. Going to be very similar, except this is music here. And the function we're calling is load muse. And the music is actually in the music folder, so we need to change that as well. This is a free software song, and it's the 8-bit version. This is the song by Richard Stallman. It's an OGG. And we're gonna, our error message is gonna say error loading music. Okay. And now down here, we're gonna I'm gonna put it underneath the halting. And this is gonna, the same thing, it's gonna be free. So G, music, this is how you free music files, just like chunks, so you call free. And then we'll set that to nil. Sorry, this is free, not play. Okay, so there is also a mix halt music as well. Here it is, halt music. And this takes no arguments. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. Up here, I'm going to call that mix halt music. So I'm halting the music, I'm halting the channels, and I'm freeing the music, and I'm setting it to nil, then I'm freeing the sound, setting those to nil. Let's just see if it's not giving us an error. Looks good. Okay. So we have music play. This is just a method on music play, but it takes loops. Now, I don't know if it's mentioned here, but if you put a -1 in here, it's going to loop indefinitely. So you can put 0 in there and it'll just play the song one time and it'll stop. Or if you put 1, it'll play it one time and then it'll play it a second time for that loop. But if you put a -1 in here, it's going to play it forever, over and over again. So, and I am going to check the error on this one. So the sound effects happen in the game loop. So as the game is looping over and over again, it plays the sound effect. But the music is playing before the game loop. It's a major thing that's playing before the game loop, and it plays throughout the game loop. It's not being started inside the game loop. So I'm going to check this error here. I'm not going to check the stuff that happens inside the game loop that's happening 60 times a second. But I am going to check the playing of the music that happens before it. And I'm going to start playing it outside of the game loop. So since I'm not checking errors at all on the game loop, let me show you. So this game loop doesn't return an error at all. I'm not checking any of the errors that are happening in here. I could start it up here, but then I'd have the problem that I'm not checking errors, so I'd need to return an error from here or not check the error. But the other thing I could do is I could just start it in the load media section right here. Is this load media? Yeah, load media right here. So after I've loaded the music, I can start playing it right here. So let's look at this function real quick, or this method here. So we're taking the music object and we're calling the play method, and then we just need to put in the loops and check the error. That's pretty simple. So we'll say if error equals, and this is going to be G music dot play and -1. Okay, so that's capturing our error, and we are just calling the play method on music with -1. Okay, there we go. And now we can just grab our error message from here, yank it, and we'll put it here. Not sure if this is lined up or not. There we go. So we'll say error playing music. Okay, so that music is going to start playing right at the bottom of our load, right before the game loop starts. Okay? So let's test that and see it's working, and then if that's working, we'll deal with pausing the music.
SDL, SDL, SD.
Okay, that looks like it's working just fine. So we have a couple methods here. So that was our play. Now we have a paused music. Sorry, this is a function, not a method. We have paused music, and this is just going to tell us, is the music paused? So it's just a Boolean, and you see how it has the D in there. It's paused, not paused music, but paused. So that's a Boolean. It's just going to tell if the music is playing or not. And then we have a resume music that's going to make the music resume. And these are not methods, these are just functions. And we have pause music that tells the music to pause. Okay, so we're going to use these three to set up a toggle. And every time we press a button, it's going to say, oh, if it's paused, resume it, else pause it. So it's going to toggle back and forth to one or the other. And this is not halting the music, this is pausing it. So it's always going to continue on playing the song wherever it paused at. Wherever you were listening to the song at, when you pause it, it'll continue on in that same spot. Okay, and we will set up a game method for this one. So we're going to call it, or I'll show you. So we're going to call it from right here. But I don't want to stick all the code in here, so I'm just going to create another method right here called music pause, or pause music. Okay, so we have pause music. So we're just going to make a simple if mix, and this is the paused one. This is the Boolean. So if pause music, if the music is paused, we want to resume the music. So we'll do mix, resume music. And then we'll just put an else on it. We'll say mix, pause, music. So this is very simple. And now we just need to call it, and I'm going to use the M key for this. So we'll make another case here. SDL, we've all seen this before, so we'll do the scan code right here, and I'll just change this to the M key. Put a colon on it, and then what we want to do is call that method. So that is pause music. Okay, so I'm going to play the music and I'm going to pause it right away. And then I'll unpause it and pause it a couple times.
SDL, 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 SDL,
go,
SDL.
Okay, that looks like it's working perfectly. Every time I press it, if it's playing, it paused. If it's paused, it resumes playing. So let's walk through everything that we did in this video here. So we have added the new package here, the mix package. And we do have a couple of new variables here. We have Go Sound, SDL Sound, and Music. And those are of mix type, type mix chunk and mix music. These are heap allocated. We're initializing the mix, but we also need to open an audio device. And like I said, I'm using the safe defaults. You can dig into what these mean, but I'm just using the defaults here. I'm just going to consider them safe defaults. And I'm reverse closing the audio and then quitting the mixer in reverse order. In load media, we have our sound effects being loaded with mix load wave. No matter what type of audio file it is, it'll be mix load wave to load it. And the music is mix load muse. Okay. And then to play the music, we are using, we're calling play on the object, and we're just using -1 so it loops indefinitely. And that's how we play music. And we halt music, where is it? We halt music with halt music, and we halt sound effects with halt channel -1 or a specific channel, but -1 is just all channels. And we are freeing the music with music free. We're freeing with the sound with the same free, setting them to null. That's how we free the chunks and the music. And the way we play sound is just very simple. Let's write up here. We just call the play on it, and we do need to tell it which channel to play on. But -1 will let it automatically choose the channel. And then we can say if we want it to loop or not. And so 0 is saying we don't want the sound effects to loop. So that should be how to make sound effects and play sound effects, or how to load sound effects and then play them in SDL, and how to play music and how to pause and unpause it and all that. I think that's about everything here. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was entertaining or educational. And thanks again for watching. Bye.